Okay, the funny thing about being one of the last speakers is that a lot of pieces in my speech were already said like in different words, but it's a new combination, so I'll just go ahead. Okay, so my name is Noga, I'm from Israel, and I work at IBM. I live with my partner, Hila, her 2 sons from a previous marriage, and our mutual daughter. I'll be talking about visible career moms as role models for other lesbians and straight women in their workplace. So when I looked at the list of topics for this conference, I immediately knew I would want to talk about the importance of visibility. I then tried to understand why I feel so strongly about this subject and why it is so close to my heart. I think that the reason is that during key points in the process of forming my lesbian identity, I could not find relevant, visible role models. To explain this, I'll give a brief overview of these key points. So I grew up in Tel Aviv as a child in the 80s. As a child and adolescent, I thought of myself as a girl who was a bit different, not like most of the girls. At that time in Israel, there were no famous people who were out. None of my family or friends had identified as gay or lesbian, so I only grew up with the hetero model. No wonder that being lesbian was never an option that came to mind. Moving forward in time in Israel, military service is mandatory at the age of 18. And so during my army service, I met my first female partner. It was the late 90s, the beginning of the LGBT revolution in Israel. And by then, one male singer came out of the closet. Israel sent a transgender woman to the Eurovision contest, if you remember. Even my big brother came out. Yes, we're 2 out of 3. Mommy is proud. However, there is still no lesbian out there. My partner at that time and I had a very stereotypical image of lesbians. This image seemed so different from us, and so we remained in the closet, avoiding society's reaction. This went on after the army, during our university years, in which we lived together as roommates. Yes. So later on, the early 2000s, I meet my current partner. I finally come out and get accepted by my family and friends. Also, I meet a lot of lesbians by playing basketball. Yes, that's true. I also, in Israel at this time, more and more people are coming out of the closet. Many gay men and very few lesbians start appearing more and more on TV and in movies. In parallel, I start working in high-tech companies. After being so many years in the closet, I made a resolution to become visible at every place I go and work. Some of my friends even say I'm a bit addicted to it. It's true that being in relationships make being visible much easier, as every day-to-day story includes my partner or our children. Nonetheless, I realize that in every place I work with, I seem to be the only out lesbian. So 4 years ago, I started working at IBM. This is the first company I worked for that had an organization-wide LGBT group. However, still in IBM Israel, which has about 2,000 workers, I'm still the only out lesbian in this group. I'm sure there might be more that are out, but I'm not a part of the group, so I'm not aware of them. Gradually, I become more involved and assist in starting up a diversity section in IBM Israel's monthly newsletter. Around 2010, my partner and I decided to have a child together. An important development happened around these years in Israel. The court has allowed adoption of children by same-sex parents. This actually enabled gay men and lesbians to be the legal parents of their non-biological children. This is exciting, but again, in my workplace, I found no lesbian career mom to talk about this with. To sum up, since there are many years in which I found no suitable lesbian role models, which could have made my struggles easier, I understand how important it is to be visible everywhere. Just being visible is in itself radical. So it's clear that visibility is crucial for having lesbian role models for other lesbians. But how can being visible affect straight women? Well, lesbian relationships break the automatic equation of family equals mom plus dad plus child. For many people, not only from the LGBT community, the single governing model might not fit and might lead to frustration. It's important to show that things can be done differently, that you can succeed, be happy, and live a full life with love and children if you want. It's important for people to know that they have options. I think there's an advantage to being a lesbian career woman and more so a lesbian career mom. This is again related to having options. When people walk in a path that is pre-written, they enter predefined molds and try to play within the predefined roles. For example, straight people play within their gender-assigned roles. Even if they both strive for equality, they still are acting in comparison to those predefined rules. This issue is more evident when children come along, and most of the burden still falls on the woman, which inevitably has an impact on her career. The advantage of being in a lesbian relationship is being able to reinvent the wheel. Typically, the role division is done more equally and relies much more on the partner's characteristics and preferences rather than on any predefined assignment. Other than a more equal share of the load, another interesting fact about same-sex relationships is that the assigned roles change over time. This allows each partner the opportunity to invest in the career. Going back to being visible in the workplace. When people we work see us from the outside, it undermines even slightly the dichotomy in which they grasp the world. That's why it's so important to be visible. It's so important because it lets us know that things can be done differently. It's so important because it shows that there are always more options. It's so important because it allows each and every one of us to have a sense of belonging. Thank you.